So how's it going, guys? This is Rio Murata, photographer based in Tokyo, and honestly, in my channel, I have already sort of like 1 month in the future, like what kind of videos I'm planning to make. However, there are these moments in life that you get sidetracked, and because this channel is dedicated towards film photography people, there was something that picked up, and I had to make a video on it, and yeah, and fully disclaimer, this video is not being sponsored by Ricoh or anything. This is more like my personal taste and hobbyish type of area, but I thought it would be nice to sort of like mention it on my channel. And as of 2025, if you guys know, there's a lot of Gatchapon machines throughout Tokyo. Gatchapons, basically you stick in money, you turn the wheel, and a prize comes out and spontaneously, and you don't know what you're gonna get. This time around in 2025, Ricoh started to make these limited run miniature camera collections that they have made in the past, like camera miniature versions of the past. And if I'm right, in the past there were a couple of like camera companies that did this. I think a long time ago I made a video on Konica. They did a run on this, and they had sort of like a Gatchapon machine version and also a box version, which I made a video on. After that, Nikon actually did it too, but they were more like focused on the digital side of prizes, like the Nikon ZF-C and stuff like that. So I never made a video on that. But this time around, Ricoh started to like make their film camera miniature versions, and I thought it'd be nice to sort of like mention it on my channel. And I guess the series is called Camera Miniature Collections, and this incorporates like 4 types of cameras that they've sold in the past, which is the Ricohflex the third, Ricoh Auto Half. And if you recall in my Nishin camera visit, one of the customers, or the what we call the fellow drinkers, owned a Ricoh half frame. And also they also have the Ricoh GR1 black and silver version as Gatchapon prizes. And similar to the Konica video that I made a long time ago, this time around the Ricoh's sort of like miniature camera series, you can either do it in a Gatchapon if you find one in Tokyo, or you can purchase a box version, which is much more expensive. It's like 550 yen, versus if you Gatchapon it, it's like 500 yen, so roughly $3-4 or so. And honestly, I'm going super off topic about Gatchaponing stuff related to film photography, but because these are spontaneously, you don't know what you're gonna get, I basically turned the Gatchapon wheel 3 times and got 3 separate prizes, which was a GR1 silver and black, and also the Ricohflex. And the only product that I was like missing out on was the Auto Half from Ricoh. And obviously if I turn the Gatchapon wheel again, it's like 3 out of 4 chances of getting the exact same product that I just received. So I did not want to like risk this, and this is like a sort of like a back way or back alley way of shortcut doing it. But on sort of like a Craigslist type of site in Japan, we have something called Mercari, where you can basically purchase other people's like prized like Gatchapon of the past, and I basically purchased it for plus 100 yen, so 600 yen in total. So that's like $4, instead of turning the Gatchapon wheel again and sort of like getting the exact same product. I mean, that's meaningless. So what I did was I basically purchased it online and completed my set. Okay, so what makes this sort of like Gatchapon series really unique is the paper that it comes with. It's sort of like a small pamphlet that has the Ricoh brand logo right there with the Ricohflex photo in the middle, and this is the camera miniature collection in the middle bottom. And please post your photos on SNS, etc, etc. And the back side, which I've caught really attention on, was that it basically had sort of like a photo of every single prize, and at the bottom of each photo there was a description, sort of like a historical background why that camera was introduced. And I thought it would be nice to sort of like share it with you guys. So yeah, we'll start with the Ricohflex 3 Type 3 1950s, and there's basically a title underneath every single camera. And am I gonna read this in Japanese? 日本写真に時代をもたらしたリコフレックス 6×6 番、この時代に標準的なブローリー。I'll translate this in English. So it's sort of like the camera that brought towards the consumers of this sort of like photography era. That's basically the title. And basically translate this from Japanese to English. I basically made it. So, okay, so Ricohflex Type 3 6x6 format camera, which uses a brawny, aka medium format film, can shoot 12 photos. And back in the 1950s, if you guys do not know, a twin reflex camera cost roughly $250 USD. And back in 1950, the annual salary of Japanese people were roughly $700 to $800. So 1/4 of the annual salary that you made in Japan, you basically had to dunk that into purchasing a twin reflex camera, which I highly suggest you should not do. And when this camera came out, it was sort of like a revolutionary because due to the fact that it uses low cost, I guess, manufacturing process, and including the finder, the focusing gears, etc., etc. And because they were able to make this really affordable back then, they were able to sell this for 6,800 yen, which is like $40. So like 1/5 the price of the typical twin reflex back in the days. So this became the best seller in terms of medium format camera for the consumers back in 1950, and probably it was one of the most, I guess, used camera back in that days because a lot of people didn't have that much of a income. So it was sort of like a camera that sort of like introduced that into the, I guess, the lives of the typical Japanese. So yeah, that's the Ricohflex Type 3 1950. And fast forward 2025, I think you can purchase a Ricohflex Type 3 for $30 to maybe $50 if I'm right when I last saw it. So it's not too expensive, but as a twin reflex camera, it is one of the most affordable in the kind. So yeah, if you're into twin reflex cameras, the Ricohflex might be it. Obviously the top end will be the Rolleiflex, which is much more expensive, so keep that in mind. So the next one is the Ricoh Half, which came out in 1962, and the title is Long Run Lifespan in the Camera History. So yeah, should I say it in Japanese? No. Okay, the Ricoh Auto Half is a half frame camera that is centered from the Ricoh's roots in terms of automation. If you guys know, Ricoh is a company that sort of went into the field of automation, and they wanted to sort of like market this as a fully automated compact camera on the half frame front. And back in 1959, if I'm right, the Olympus Pen series was a hit back in the days, which was a half frame camera. And they wanted something to rival against that. So they started to like research and develop a camera to go head to head with that. And also in compact size. And in order for this to happen, they basically had to come up with sort of like a way of powering the unit and in the compact body. So they came up with using a spring mechanism, which you guys probably know. Watches back in the days, mechanical watches, used a spring mechanism, which you can have a longevity of going on forever, once you basically have it like twisted. So they used that, and also they came up with a super thin shutter mechanism because you guys probably know shutters take up a lot of space because it flaps, or if it's a front curtain type of shutter, that mechanism itself makes the body of the camera thicker. So instead of doing that, they came up with a thinner shutter. And they also wanted a sort of like a futuristic look, not introduced in the past. So they came up with a Ricoh Auto Half. And yeah, and it was hilarious because when I was reading the bottom part of the summary, it said that the marketers thought during the last meeting that this camera would either not sell or sell hell a lot, and they basically went ahead and just sold it, and they found out that they sold roughly 500,000 copies of these Ricoh Auto Half, so 500,000 copies during the duration of the 20-year period. So it became a bestseller. And then, so yeah. So last but not least is the Ricoh GR1, black and silver, and the title says プロの定番機として定着の高性能カメラ。 which in English means the standard among pros. And back in 1994, if I'm right, Ricoh announced the R1, which was a super slim film camera, and the user community, after the release of the R1, wanted a camera that can basically utilize the extra resolution that slide films had back in the days. And also, I guess the cameras prior to that did not have enough resolution, and due to that factor, a lot of the cameras back in the days had a lot of vignetting. And if you guys know about vignetting, the center you can basically see it clearly, but the edges of the frame was slightly darkened and it was basically not sharp at all. So Ricoh came up with a GR1, which used what, 4 groups, 7 elements, or 7 elements, 4 groups, other way around, lens configuration. And they were able to make this camera that can prevent vignetting from happening. And a lot of people rated this camera as a great camera and became sort of like a standard among professionals using it as a compact digital camera. The outer body is made out of a magnesium die cast, if I'm right, which was sturdy, good to use in outdoor conditions. And they sold it in both black and silver. And this basically, I guess, form factor was sort of like, I guess, how should I say, passed on to the next generations of the GR camera. So yeah, unfortunately the GR, what was it, the GR3 only comes in black, if I'm right, and the diary version is not silver. It's like sort of like a beige type of color. So yeah, but the shape itself hasn't changed over the course of the years, so that's like one of the great things. And a lot of people still use the GR1 as their daily driver. Now that the paperwork is done, now we're talking about the prizes. Okay, so let's start with the Ricohflex. What's unique and what's rather nice about the Ricohflex is you can basically remove the shade. If you guys ever use a twin reflex camera, normally there's a button and you sort of like pull it up, you know, but the miniature version doesn't have that functionality, but you can basically remove the back part of the shade and you can basically collapse the shade down, which is really nice in my opinion. And also the ground glass, you can't see visibly, but you can see a little bit when you sort of like try to like focus, not focus, but like turn it towards a light source. So that was actually nice. So it's not like you can't see anything. You can see a little bit of like visuals when using the twin reflex of the Ricohflex. Okay, yeah, I wish I had a Ricohflex now. But yeah, that looks really nice in my opinion. Also, I basically turned it around for you guys. And the quality and I guess the reproduction compared to the actual product itself is really similar. I mean, they improve compared to the Konica Gacha. So yeah, that's actually something neat to notice. For the Ricoh Auto half, you can actually remove the back panel actually, and also the Ricoh half, there's a sort of like a small like what we call film stock that you can actually remove and put back. And also what's neat about the Ricoh Auto half is you can basically pull out, you know, when you basically try to remove a film stock, you have to pull out the lever for it to disengage the, you know, the film stock. It has that functionality, you can do that, and the film goes flying out actually. So obviously you can't advance the film. There is sort of like a dial where you can basically turn, which is really nice, and they actually reproduce that really to a great quality actually for its price. So yeah, and for the GR1 and both the silver and black, they're exactly the same in terms of functionality. Similar to the auto half, you can basically open up the back panel, not fully remove it, but similar to opening up a point and shoot actually. And there it comes with a film stock which you can actually remove and also put back in and close. There's not much of a functionality other than that, but aesthetics wise looks really similar to the sort of like the auto half that I just mentioned earlier. And also there is a viewfinder, and tried to look through it, but I had issues seeing if there was anything in there. So yeah. Oh, but I can't tell if it's getting dark or bright. So yeah, the viewfinders, you can't see anything, but oh, I see a light source right there. So yeah, that's kind of nice. And yeah, they actually made it to the point where they kind of imitated the real version of the GR. There is a logo 28, meaning I guess 28 millimeters. The ones that Daido Moriyama used, the shutters doesn't work. But yeah, and also what's rather intriguing was that the back, there's a sort of like a peek out window right here. So you can basically see if there's a film inserted in here. So yeah, that's actually nice. Yeah. Would have been nice if I could press the shutter actually, so yeah. And yeah, the GR1 black version is silver. It's exactly the same. So yeah, that's basically sort of like my coverage talking about the Gatchapon from Ricoh. This video is not being sponsored. I'm not being affiliated by Ricoh because I do not own any Ricoh cameras. But after Gatchaponing them, it makes me want to wonder if I really want to get a Ricoh camera. Not the point and shoot, but more like a twin reflex because I don't own a twin reflex. So yeah, I would love to hear your comments, your insight of the Gatchapon of 2025, which has to be the Ricoh GR series and their twin reflex and their auto half. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative. And yeah, let's see what will happen throughout this year if any other company is going to be doing that. But probably if there is another company that might be doing it, I'm guessing Pentax. I'm hoping Pentax will do something. But yeah, but they're the exact same company, so they might do it. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace out.